My name is Claire Donovan, and I'm 34 years old. When I bought the house, it felt like I'd won something nobody thought I ever would. Not the lottery, not a prize, not even a race. It felt like I'd finally won myself. The first day I walked in, I just stood there in the entryway with my hand still on the doorknob, listening. No TV blasting game shows. No arguments ricocheting through thin walls. No dog claws skittering across the floor, leaving a trail of hair and smell behind them. It was just me. Me and this house I paid for, planned for, fought for. This house in my name, not my parents'. Not the family's. Mine. I was 34. Not exactly the age you brag about when you say you finally moved into your first place alone. Most people leave a decade earlier. But when you grow up in a family like mine, moving out isn't just about money. It's like trying to swim with a rope tied around your waist and the other end knotted to a sinking boat called family. Every time you try to kick away, the rope yanks you back. My parents didn't hit me. They never gave anyone a clear story to point at and say, there, that's the abuse. They just used me, little by little, year after year, until being used felt like my job description. My whole 20s disappeared into bills that weren't mine, errands that became obligations, and guilt that got served with dinner every night like a side dish. Whenever I tried to pull back, say no, set a boundary, have a life, my mom would tilt her head and remind me what family meant. Family helps, she'd say. Family shows up. My dad would call it doing your part, like he was running a polite little cult, and I'd miss the orientation session. And my sister Julia? She just rolled her eyes, dumped more responsibility on the table, and walked away before anyone could hand her a dish to wash. By 30, I was paying half the mortgage on a house I didn't own. My name wasn't anywhere on the deed. The water heater went out. I paid to fix it. The couch got destroyed when Julia's dog, some half-rescued, half-feral creature she brought home at 16 and never really trained, chewed through the cushions. I paid for a new one. That dog hadn't been properly washed in years, and it had some issue where it couldn't hold its bladder for more than 2 hours. The whole house smelled like wet carpet and regret. But it was part of the family, so it stayed. So did I. Every time I hinted at moving out, my mom's eyes would fill instantly with tears. After everything we've done for you, she'd say, this is how you repay us? My dad would fold his arms and talk about this generation and their selfishness. Julia would just shrug. You know you can't afford it, she'd say. You're better off here. Meanwhile, I was paying bills with my name on them. Electricity, internet, groceries, repairs. By 32, I wasn't just tied to the boat. I was the boat. Everyone else floated. I met Ethan around then. This quiet, steady guy who worked in IT and liked to fix things that weren't his responsibility. He'd listen when I talked about my family, about how tired I was, about how moving out felt impossible. Nothing about you is impossible, he told me once over coffee. Just expensive and overdue. I laughed, but the words lodged somewhere inside me. Still, when the day finally came, I didn't tell him first. I didn't tell anyone. The afternoon, I got the email saying my mortgage was approved. I sat in my car in the grocery store parking lot and stared at the screen until my eyes blurred. My hands shook so hard I almost dropped my phone. I didn't scream or cry. I just exhaled. Then I went home and packed, quietly. No dramatic showdown, no big speech. Just my clothes, my documents, a few boxes of things that were unquestionably mine. It was a Wednesday. My dad was in the living room watching some daytime show, half asleep. My mom was in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone. Julia was, as always, mysteriously out networking, which usually meant sitting in a cafe, posting selfies about how hard she was grinding. I carried the last box to the door and said, Hey, the internet bill needs to be transferred out of my name. I'm moving. My mom blinked. What do you mean moving? I bought a house, I said. I'm leaving today. My dad sat up. A house? Where? With who? By myself, I said, and I'm not giving you the address. The words surprised even me as they came out. But once they were out, I didn't take them back. My mom's mouth opened and closed like she'd forgotten how to speak. Claire. I already signed, I said. The deed's in my name. The utilities, too. The internet here goes off at the end of the month. You'll need to set up your own. After everything we've done for you, she whispered. My dad's face reddened. This is how you repay us? You're just going to abandon your family? I thought of the dog pee stains, the late-night guilt lectures, the way any money I saved evaporated as soon as someone said they were struggling. I thought of Ethan, who'd once told me, You don't have to live like this forever, you know. Yes, I said softly. I am. Then I walked out. I expected a dozen missed calls within the hour. I got three. Two from my mom, one from Julia. I didn't answer any of them. The house I bought wasn't fancy. 2 bedrooms, a fenced-in backyard, a pool that needed work but still held water. Inside, it smelled like paint and dust and opportunity. I bought a mattress, a small table, a couple of chairs, and a cheap couch. No TV. I didn't want noise. I wanted silence. And for the first time in my life, that's exactly what I got. That first week felt like coming back to life in slow motion. I worked long hours, came home, made actual dinners in a kitchen nobody criticized. I lit candles just because I liked the scent, not because I was trying to cover something up. I sat at the table and ate alone, and instead of loneliness, I felt relief. Every evening, I went out to the pool, even though the water was too cold. Sometimes I swam a few laps. Sometimes I just floated on my back, staring up at the sky, the stars faint against the suburban glow. "This is mine," I'd whisper into the dark. "All of it. Mine." I was careful. Paranoid, maybe, but I'd earned the right. I didn't give anyone the address. Not my parents, not Julia. I didn't post pictures online. When Ethan asked if he could come see the place, I laughed it off and told him I wanted to get it set up first. Truth was, I was scared that if too many people knew where it was, it wouldn't be mine for long. My mom texted every day, little hooks disguised as concern. "How's work? Did you remember to eat? It's dangerous being alone in a big empty house." Julia sent one message. "Heard you ran off. Dramatic much?" I muted the family group chat. On the 8th night, I came home after a late shift. The sky was already dark, the air heavy and warm. As I turned the corner onto my street, I felt that little flutter of joy in my chest, the one that said, "You're about to pull into your driveway, not theirs." Then I saw the cars. 2 of them. One was unmistakably my dad's. The dent in the rear panel had been there since 2011. The other was my mom's faded sedan. For a second, I just sat there in my own car with the engine idling, hands frozen on the wheel. No. I turned the engine off anyway. Got out. Walked toward the front door, like I was stepping into a dream I already knew was a nightmare. I opened the door. The smell hit me first. Wet dog, old laundry, and underneath it, something sharp and familiar, Julia's perfume. I stepped inside. They were all there. My parents, Julia, the dog. In my living room, like they'd been waiting. My mom was folding towels I had just bought. My dad was sipping from one of my coffee mugs like it had always been his. Julia was on my cheap new couch, shoes on the cushions, scrolling her phone with headphones in. And the dog, her eternally damp, eternally confused dog, was digging into the arm of the couch like it was trying to tunnel its way to freedom. There were open suitcases in the corner, grocery bags on the table I'd wiped down the night before. A half-eaten rotisserie chicken sat in the center like the centerpiece at some deranged family picnic. I froze in the doorway. My keys dangled from my fingers. "How did you get in here?" My voice sounded wrong in my own house. Thin, distant, like it belonged to someone else. My mom looked up, smiling like I'd just walked into their living room. She reached into her pocket and dangled a key I had never given her. "Oh, honey, relax," she said. "You left a spare at home ages ago. Your dad made a copy. Now it's family property, so let's not make a big deal out of it." Family property. The words hit harder than the sight of the suitcases. I stared at the key, then at them. None of them looked guilty. They looked settled. Like this was inevitable. I should have shouted. I should have told them to get out. But years of training don't vanish in 1 week of freedom. All those nights of, "Don't make a scene, don't upset your mother, don't be dramatic," they rose up like invisible hands around my throat. So I swallowed. "How long are you staying?" I asked. "Just until things settle," my mom said airily, like there had been a storm I didn't know about. "We needed a change of scenery. Besides, you have all this space and you're alone. It's not safe." My dad nodded, already reaching for another piece of chicken. "We brought food." Julia didn't look up. "Wi-Fi password?" she asked. I heard myself say words that felt like betrayal to the part of me that had floated in the pool just a few nights before. "Fine," I said, "just for a little while." A week, I told myself, 1 week, and then they'd go. I should have changed the locks that night. Instead, I lay awake in my new bedroom, listening to familiar sounds invade unfamiliar walls. My dad snoring, the TV booming from the living room, my mom's footsteps pacing between the kitchen and the couch, the dog's nails clicking on the hallway tile. Not because they were unusually loud, because they belonged to a life I'd just clawed my way out of. The ceiling above me felt lower somehow, the room smaller. It was the same mattress, same walls, but it no longer felt like my space. The next morning, they were already in motion before my alarm went off. My dad was in the garage, rearranging my tools I'd bought. "Your layout is inefficient," he said when I came out. "I'll fix it." My mom was in the kitchen with the cabinets open, moving my dishes and spices like she was following some blueprint in her head. "It'll flow better this way," she said. "Trust me." Julia was in my small office, laptop plugged in, coffee on the desk. She didn't ask. She just claimed the chair. "I have a Zoom interview," she said when I stared. "You're at work all day anyway." I reminded them politely that this wasn't a vacation rental. "We know," my mom said. "We're just here until things settle." "When did things get unsettled?" I asked. No one answered. They spent the day in pajamas, ordered delivery they didn't pay for, and watched TV loud enough that I had to take my work calls in the bedroom with the door closed and a pillow pressed against the wall. The dog peed twice before noon, once on the rug near the door, once in the hallway corner. "He's just adjusting to the new space," my mom said as I cleaned it up. I was adjusting too, to being a guest in my own house. By day 4, they had progressed from occupying the space to organizing it. I walked in one evening to find them all on the couch, the TV muted, my mom holding a notebook. "Family meeting," she announced. I didn't sit. "About what?" My dad cleared his throat. "Groceries," he said. "With Julia between jobs and us on a fixed income, things are tight. Maybe you can pitch in a little more." "I don't even eat here half the time," I said. "I work late. I've been buying my own stuff." "It's not about fairness," my dad replied. "It's about family." Julia finally looked up. "Also, we were talking about rearranging the furniture," she added casually. "The couch would fit better against that wall, and the TV would look way better over there." "We could even build a little shed out back," she said, eyes brightening, "for my dog grooming business. The yard is perfect for it." "You don't have a dog grooming business," I said. "Not yet," she said. "But I could. This place has potential." My mom chimed in. "We should get a doorbell camera. I want to feel safe here." "Here," as if this were theirs. I didn't ask who would pay for the camera. I already knew the answer. The dog had apparently claimed the hallway as its personal restroom now. Every day I came home to new stains and new smells. "He's getting older," my mom would say. "He's confused. He just needs time." Nobody else cleaned it up. One night I stood in the hallway with paper towels and cleaner, the sharp scent burning my nose, and thought, I moved out to escape this exact thing. Now it had followed me home. On day 7, I tried again. I found my mom in the kitchen loading my dishes into the dishwasher incorrectly. Because yes, there is a correct way. And yes, it matters when it's your dishwasher. "I think it's time you start packing up," I said, keeping my voice as even as I could. "I need the house back. All of it." She paused, then shut the dishwasher door and turned to face me, arms folded. "You have so much space," she said slowly. "We're not bothering anyone." "I'm someone," I said. "You're bothering me." She gave me a long, disappointed look, the kind that used to make me fold instantly when I was a kid. "Honestly," she said, "I think you're forgetting something. This house came from us. You wouldn't even have it if we hadn't supported you all these years." Supported. Like the bills I'd paid, the repairs I'd funded, the years I'd spent as their safety net were some kind of down payment on this place. It clicked then. They didn't think that they were guests. They thought they had a claim. To the house, to my money, to me. A week passed. Nothing changed. If anything, they dug in deeper. When I brought it up again, this time with all 3 of them in the room, my dad said I was being dramatic. My mom said I was making things uncomfortable. Julia rolled her eyes and called me ungrateful. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just stopped arguing. That night, I sat at my small dining table with a notebook and a pen. I wrote the date at the top of the page. Then I started recording. Every dog accident, every rearranged drawer, every bill paid, every comment, every attempt to twist guilt into ownership. Not because I was planning to sue them. Because I needed proof for a judge, maybe, someday. But also for myself. Proof that this was real. That I wasn't overreacting. That the rope I'd finally untied from that sinking family boat had quietly looped itself back around my waist. I was done playing nice. If they wanted this to be a long game, fine. I'd beat them at it. Slowly, quietly, precisely. The notebook changed everything. Once I started writing things down, reality sharpened. No more fog. No more, maybe I'm overreacting. I had proof on paper. Dates, times, messes, comments, money spent, boundaries crossed. By the end of week 2, the notebook wasn't just notes. It was a case file. And the more I documented, the more aware I became of how deeply they were weaving themselves into my home, planting invisible roots, claiming space that didn't belong to them. It started small. One night after a late shift, I walked into the house and immediately noticed something wrong. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was subtle. Tiny misalignments only someone who had lived alone for 8 peaceful days would notice. My bedroom door was cracked open. I always closed it when I left. Inside, one of my dresser drawers was half open. A few shirts had been moved. My deodorant sat in a different spot than where I'd left it. No one admitted anything. No one even pretended to be guilty. My mom frowned like I was accusing them of a crime. "Why would we go through your things?" she asked, offended. Julia just shrugged. "Maybe you forgot how you left it." My dad didn't even look up. That night, I drove to the hardware store and bought a new doorknob with a lock. The next morning when they saw it, my mom sighed dramatically. "It's sad," she said, "when a family member feels the need to lock her own door in her own house." "Exactly," I said, "my house." They didn't like that response. Then things escalated. 2 days later, I came home to the front door blocked. Chain lock engaged. From the inside. I stood there on the porch knocking for almost 5 minutes. No answer. I called. No answer. I texted. Nothing. Finally, Julia opened the door, headphones still on, looking annoyed. "You didn't hear me?" I asked. "Oh," she said, taking one earbud out. "I was busy." The dog barked behind her, shaking the new ESA vest Julia had put on him. My eyes narrowed. "Where did that come from?" I asked. She beamed. "I registered him online. Emotional support animal," she said proudly. "Now you can't kick us out without due process." I blinked. "Due process?" "Yeah," she said, flipping her hair. "He has rights." I stared at her. "Where did you get the money for that?" I asked quietly. She smiled. "I used your card." Something in me clicked, not snapped. Clicked, like the final piece of a puzzle sliding into place. They weren't staying until things settled. They were settling in, planting flags, claiming territory, weaponizing family dynamics in legal gray areas, and they were doing it all with the casual confidence of people who believed they were entitled to my house. I didn't argue, I didn't yell, I didn't give them anything they could twist into harassment. I just said, "Okay." Then I walked outside, sat at the edge of the pool, and called a lawyer. His name was Victor Sandoval, property law specialist, voice calm, precise. When I finished pouring out everything, the dog, the key, the damage, the schedule, they'd posted on my fridge, he asked one question. "Do you have documentation?" "I have a whole book," I said. "Good," he replied, "because you're not just removing people. You're dismantling a power structure. You have to do it surgically." "I can do surgical," I said. "I believe you," he replied. Victor walked me through the rules. No threats, no yelling, no engaging in fights they try to provoke, no actions they could twist into unsafe conditions. Document everything. Remove shared convenience items subtly. Don't create new patterns that imply agreement to cohabitate. "You're aiming for attrition," he said. "Make it easier for them to leave than to stay." So I started. At 6 a.m. the next morning, the only time my house was quiet, I cleared the fridge. Everything I didn't personally buy went into the trash. Then I bought a mini fridge and put it in my room, stocked with what I actually needed. When Julia asked why there was no milk left, I said I didn't need any. I removed the Wi-Fi password. When my dad asked what was wrong, I said, "Troubleshooting, maybe switching providers." I replaced the guest room bulbs with dim orange ones from the clearance bin, half-closed the vent so the room was always warm. I started doing laundry late at night to throw off Julia's precious taped schedule. I emailed myself photos of stains, damage, and trash piles. I bought small cameras, legal, visible ones, and placed them at the entry and garage, blinking red. 2 days after the cameras went up, Julia stopped leaving the dog unsupervised. The hallway remained clean. Not a coincidence. Then came the visitor. A random Tuesday afternoon, I came home and saw an unfamiliar car parked in the driveway. Inside, a guy in his 20s was sitting on the couch eating chips out of my bowl. Julia introduced him as her boyfriend, Mark. He'd been helping her with things. "For how long?" I asked. "Couple days," she mumbled. I stared at him. He shifted uncomfortably. He knew he was trespassing. She didn't care. I printed a sign and taped it to the front door. "Private residence, authorized entry. Only owner reserves, right to refuse access." My mom whispered to my dad that I was being dramatic. I took a picture of her whispering and added it to the folder. Then I set the trap. I installed the cameras, clearly visible. I didn't mention them, but everyone saw them, and their behavior changed instantly. The dog accident stopped. Julia picked up after herself. My dad stopped rummaging in drawers. 3 days later, I handed each of them a neatly printed letter. Formal notice of voluntary departure request. No lease, no tenancy, no rights to occupy. My mom tore hers up theatrically. Julia used her copy as a coaster, but my dad folded his neatly and placed it on the table. He wasn't ready to leave, but he finally understood I was serious. After that, everything in the house felt wrong. Quiet, cold hostility. Things moved around, doors slammed, passive-aggressive comments layered between forced smiles. And then came the breaking point. I came home and found the dog had chewed through part of my notebook. Not the whole thing, just enough to destroy pages. Julia didn't deny it. "Maybe you shouldn't leave things lying around," she said with a smirk. "It's a house, not a museum." I didn't react. I didn't need to. I'd already backed everything up. Instead, I walked to my room, locked the door, and installed the keypad lock I'd bought. A digital one, silent and unpickable. Julia watched me do it and frowned. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Keeping the dog safe," I said. "He's been chewing wires." There were no wires, but I wanted her guessing. That night, I drafted the next letter. This one from my lawyer. Notice of termination of implied license to occupy premises. They had 3 days. I placed the letter outside each of their rooms and waited. The 3 days after the legal notice felt like standing inside a pressure cooker, quiet on the outside, boiling underneath. No one said a word about the letters taped to their doors, but the silence in the house changed. It wasn't passive-aggressive anymore. It was tactical, a cold, simmering calculation. They were planning something, and so was I. That first morning after the notice, I came downstairs to find a new sign taped to the fridge. Family respect zone, no. Yelling, no secret recordings. All conflicts must be resolved via family discussion. It was printed in Comic Sans. Comic Sans? That alone was a crime. My mom must have stayed up late making it, thinking she was sending a message. But I didn't rip it down. I just took a picture and added it to my documentation folder titled Psychological Games. Around noon, I heard Julia slam her bedroom door so hard the frame rattled. My mom muttered about ungrateful children, and my dad just sat in the garage staring at his tools without touching anything. The shift was happening. Slow, inevitable, uncomfortable. Perfect. A friend of mine, Josh, a property manager, not a lawyer, had told me, "You don't win by fighting. You win by making their comfort impossible." So I got to work. Small moves, surgical moves, moves that were completely legal but incredibly inconvenient. First, I took the batteries out of the TV remote, left them in a drawer in my locked room. Then I removed the knobs from the stove before I left for work, just slipped them into my bag. No frying, no boiling, no late-night cooking marathons with the volume up. Then I shut off the water heater during the day using the breaker panel outside. Cold showers, not dangerous, just motivating. They noticed. By day 2, Julia came downstairs wrapped in a towel, shivering. "Is your water broken?" she demanded. "Probably," I said. "I'll look into it." I never said when. Then I changed the Wi-Fi password again. This time, when Julia came storming into the living room complaining that she couldn't upload her resume, I smiled politely. "That's strange," I said. "The modem's going out. Might take a while to fix." "You better fix it," she snapped. "I have interviews." "There's free Wi-Fi at the library," I said. "They have tables, too." The look she gave me could have started a small fire. I added it to the notebook. Meanwhile, I started trimming back the convenience they'd built their comfortable little nest around. I woke up at 5 a.m., claimed the laundry machines, ran my wash cycle twice, delicates and towels. When Julia complained that I was ruining her schedule, I apologized sweetly. "Oh, I didn't realize you had exclusive laundry hours." She didn't like that. When I came home after work, I sat at the dining table in silence, working from my laptop with noise-canceling headphones on. Julia started pacing. My mom hovered in the doorway, holding a mug. The house was suddenly small for them, tight to claustrophobic. Exactly as planned. Then came the moment that told me the end was near. I walked in one afternoon and saw a guy sitting on my couch again. Julia's boyfriend, Mark. He jumped when I entered, nearly dropping the bag of chips he was eating directly from my bowl. "Hey," Julia said, appearing behind him. "He's helping me with stuff." "How long has he been here?" I asked. "A couple days," she said. "He might stay longer." Mark, smart enough to realize he was trespassing, stood up awkwardly. Yeah, I can leave." Julia glared at him. "You don't have to go anywhere." I smiled at her politely. "Actually, he does. Visitors need written approval now. It's posted on the door." "It's ridiculous," she snapped. "It's the rule," I said. Mark was already putting his shoes on. He left quickly, smart man, and the second the door clicked shut, Julia exploded. "You're insane!" she screamed. "You think this is normal behavior?" I opened the fridge, calmly took out sparkling water from my mini fridge shelf, and shut the door again. "You're violating my rights," she continued. "You don't have rights here," I said quietly. "You were never a tenant." Her mouth slammed shut. My mom tried to intervene. "Sweetheart, that's not a very kind way to speak to your sister." "It's the legal way," I said. When I said legal, both my parents stiffened. That's when they realized this wasn't about guilt or emotion. This was about strategy, and I was no longer playing their game. That night, I installed 2 visible cameras, one by the front door, one in the garage entry. Nothing hidden, nothing secret, just blinking red lights that said, "I see you, I see everything." 2 days later, the mess in the hallway disappeared. The dishes vanished from the sink. The dog accident stopped. Amazing what happens when accountability enters the room. Then I printed out the official lawyer-drafted letter. Notice of termination of implied license to occupy premises 3 days to vacate. I placed one on each bedroom door. My mom ripped hers up. Julia crumpled hers and tossed it in the recycling. But my dad, he folded his neatly and put it on the coffee table. He understood. That evening, as I sat in my locked room, Ethan called. I almost didn't answer, but something in me cracked. He sounded tired, concerned. "You haven't let me come see the house," he said gently, "and you haven't been yourself." "I'm handling things," I said. He hesitated. "Claire, this feels familiar." "What do you mean?" "My ex, Melissa. She used to let people invade her boundaries until her life wasn't hers anymore. Her parents, her cousins, old friends. Everyone used her space until she didn't have any left." I went silent. "You're not her," he said softly, "but you're doing what she did. You're letting people take from you until there's nothing left." Something in my chest lurched. He wasn't accusing. He was afraid for me. But before I could answer, I heard my dad's voice outside my door calling my name. Ethan said, "Claire, is someone there?" "Yes," I whispered. "Is it your family?" I didn't answer. "Claire," he said gently, "tell me where you are. Let me come help." For one dangerous moment, I almost said yes, almost let him rush over and rescue me. But then I remembered what my lawyer said. You're not just removing people, you're dismantling a power structure. No one could dismantle it for me. Not even Ethan. "I'll call you later," I said and hung up. The next morning, I woke up early and walked downstairs. The family respect sign on the fridge was gone. In its place was a new one. "You can't just kick family out. We have rights too. This is our home." Underneath, in smaller handwriting, Julia's. "Good luck proving it." I looked at the sign for a long moment. Then I quietly peeled it off the fridge and threw it in the trash. 2 days left. The games were ending, and they knew it. Day 1 after the notice passed with tension so thick the air felt grainy. Day 2 passed with door slams, whispered plotting, and the dog pacing in circles like it sensed something shifting. But Day 3 was when the crack finally splintered straight down the middle. I woke early, before sunrise, made coffee quietly in the half-dark kitchen. The house was still, heavy, watching me. At 7:12 a.m., Julia's door opened. She stood in the hallway hugging the dog's leash to her chest, mascara smudged, hair unbrushed. Behind her, her room looked emptier. 2 suitcases stacked, drawers open, half the mess cleared. My chest tightened. She glared at me like I'd personally drowned her childhood teddy bear. "You win," she said, voice sharp and shaky. She shoved past me toward the door, the dog trotting behind her in its stupid ESA vest. Then she turned, eyes bright with tears she refused to let fall. "But don't expect us to forget it." And she walked out. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The silence did it for me. My mom came down next. No suitcases, just a folded piece of paper trembling in her hand. She held it out like a peace offering. A list of things she contributed over the years. Old expenses she'd suddenly remembered. Things she thought entitled her to my house. "Your father and I talked," she said. "We think you owe us some compensation for—" "No," I said softly. Her eyes filled instantly, weaponized tears ready for battle. "You're so cold," she whispered. "Ever since you bought this house, you've changed." "No," I said again. I finally stopped drowning. She pressed her lips together. Then she tried the last line of defense. Guilt wrapped in surrender. "If we go, we're cutting contact for good. Don't come running back when you need family." "I won't," I said. She recoiled like I'd slapped her. Then she left, dramatically, tearfully, slamming the door behind her so hard it rattled the windows. For a long moment, the house felt unnervingly quiet. Then I heard footsteps behind me. My dad. He didn't yell, didn't accuse, didn't cry. He just stood in the doorway of the living room, staring at the floor. "You're really doing this?" he asked quietly. I didn't respond. He nodded slowly, like he finally understood this wasn't a bluff, or a tantrum, or a phase. This was permanent. That scared him more than anything. That fear made him soft. He looked around the house, my house, like he was cataloging every moment he'd imagined having authority over it. "This place," he said finally, "you did good." It was the closest he had ever come to a compliment. He left without looking back, only taking his favorite mug, the one he always used, and nothing else. 2 days later, I found his tools still sitting in the garage exactly where he'd left them. He hadn't even bothered to reclaim them. That told me everything about what this house really meant to them. Not home, not safety, just convenience. When the last of their cars pulled out of the driveway, I waited until the taillights disappeared. Then I closed the door, locked it, pressed my forehead against it. For the first time in 2 weeks, I breathed. Really breathed. No wet dog smell. No TV blaring. No pacing footsteps. No doors opening without knocking. No quiet violations of my space. Just stillness. Mine. I spent the next several days detoxing the house. Not physically, emotionally. I opened all the windows, burned candles, scrubbed every inch, not because it was dirty, but because I needed to reclaim it. Bit by bit, the house started to feel like my house again. Not a battleground, not a shared dormitory, not a hostage situation. A home. One evening, as the sun was setting in a soft orange haze, I got a text from my aunt. "Are you coming to the Lake Tahoe trip this year? Your mom said you were on your own journey, so I wasn't sure." Then, right after, she accidentally forwarded a group text meant for everyone except me. A picture of my parents, Julia, and the dog on a boat, holding drinks, smiling. Caption from my mom. "Just the real crew this time. Peace and love." Julia responded with 3 laughing emojis and a dog emoji. I stared at the photo for a solid minute. This was supposed to sting, to cut deep, to make me feel excluded. But instead, I felt nothing. Nothing except a quiet, startling relief. They thought they were punishing me, but they were freeing me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't orbiting their gravity. I wasn't the fixer, the provider, the guilt sponge, the financial crutch, the background character in their story. I was me. A few days later, I rearranged the living room furniture exactly how I wanted it. I repainted the guest room a warm, soft color. I deep cleaned the pool until the water sparkled again. I installed the shelves I'd always wanted in the kitchen. And then I did something that surprised even me. I got a cat. Quiet. Independent. No drama. No guilt. No emotional manipulation. Just vibes. She curled up in my lap the first night like she'd been waiting for this home her entire life. Like she recognized peace when she saw it. Sometimes I sit in the backyard at dusk, the pool lights shimmering, the house glowing softly behind me. The cat sits at the sliding door watching me, tail twitching. And I think about everything my family still believes. That I'm lost, ungrateful, on some strange journey. That excluding me from holidays is punishment. That I'll come crawling back eventually. That freedom is something I can't survive on my own. They have no idea. I finally got the life they always said I wasn't allowed to have. And I'm not giving it back.